it's Spence, the evil genius, from Widget Laboratory with your Lab Secrets new product tip of the day. Today I've got a special tutorial for you to show you how to take advantage of our new LabTools. LabTools has a bunch of features that allow you to do things drag and drop on your site that would otherwise take a professional designer. It allows you to easily create a social network on WordPress and monetize today. Now let me show you how the tip works and then show you how easy it is for you to set it up and use on your Lab Secrets solution site. When I go over here to another browser, you'll see that I've got these columns set up underneath the header. Now what's really neat about it is it doesn't change anything about the normal navigation menu or the other components. If you had a site, for example, you might want to have a product feature page like this where you had feature 1, feature 2, feature 3, etc. You could drop images in here. You could do anything you want. It's just a neat way to show you how, even though this is a horizontal space, you can add vertical columns just as easily as anything else. All right, let's show you how we did it. We went over here to our LabSecrets Dashboard, and again, using LabTools, we open up the Appearance menu. The Appearance menu is where all the magic happens with layout when I click on Widgets. As you recall from other videos, we have a couple special tools inside of there, including our LabTools header, LabTools navigation, our login box, and foot doctor, etc. But basically, in this case, I'm using two tools. I'm using the LabTools header widget, and I'll show you that in a second. And I'm also using an ordinary text box. Now, we just pushed a release that adds a new feature that made all of this possible. How is that so? Well, if I open up the text box, you can see here that I've got a new option. In addition to the ability to show where a widget is displayed, like we've shown you in previous video, we've now had the ability to style a widget. Now, this is not in a limiting sense keeping you from using CSS. It's just a way for an ordinary person to be able to style widgets without having to dig too deeply into CSS. And it gives you two options. First of all, you can set the width of that particular widget. It can be in pixels or it can be in percentages. Next, you can set the float. Now, in layman's terms, the float is how do you want this object to appear on the page in relation to other objects. I can have no float, which means it's treated the same as any other object, or I could say float this object to the left side of the page or float this object to the right side of the page. Now, in this case, for this little example, I'm going to float everything left, and I should probably say the obvious. I have 4 columns, so each column is worth 1/4 or 25% of the space. Now, let me show you what else I did here. I have a snippet of code, which is just filler code, the lorem ipsum. I have created a title using the heading 3 tag. Now again, this is an example where a little tiny bit of HTML knowledge is not a bad thing. You have different tags which do special things for styling, and one of the ones that are more common are called heading tags. Heading 1, 2, 3, 4. Most of the time, a heading 1 is the first and the largest, and that's the one you use only on the main page or the top of any particular page. After that, your H2 and H3s do different things. For the purpose of this tutorial, you should know that when you put an H3 tag in with WordPress, that represents the space that's normally covered by these particular widget headers. So we're going to copy the same style tags that are used in the rest of the theme so that we get the same kind of a look. So I added a little tag here and I named each column uniquely. So in this widget, I'm in the left column. And last but not least, the little tchotchke that I added, the little piece of styling, is something that I'll include in this tutorial so you can achieve the same effect. I just created a little bit of styling that made the columns look nice with a little spacing and padding. And as you recall from previous tutorials, all of this styling is available inside of Appearance Editor. And if you scroll down to the page, you've got a unique style sheet called Lab Style CSS, and that's where all of your components or CSS mods will be contained so that you can go ahead and add tweaks to your site and not worry about it being something that'll be overwritten if you were to upgrade your WordPress, your BuddyPress, etc. Now, these little tweaks I'm going to give you in the end of this tutorial, so don't worry about it, but just know that it's as simple as going ahead and dropping in a little bit of this code and following the rest of the directions. Okay, back to the widgets, and then we'll show you how it all comes together. So I made 4 text widgets, which I just simply scrolled down and dragged over and dropped in place. And then on each one of them, I added the snippet code, gave each one of them a unique title, and then set the width at 25% and the float to left, because I want everything to scrunch to the left side so that there's no leftover space. Last but not least, I went ahead and added a LabTools header which also has one other feature I want to point out here. We've now given you the ability to control whether your title and tagline or your header image shows up. We've also given you the ability to modify the full width of your header. There could be an instance, for example, when you don't want the header image to go across the full page. Maybe you want to have a second column up at the right side with a logo or an advertisement. Now you can do all of that with just the widget controls you see here. Okay, when it's all said and done, I saved it and reloaded the page, and I've got the exact layout that you see here. Now let's shake it up a little bit, and then we'll call an end to this tutorial. When I go ahead over here, I can go ahead and, if I want, I could remove this column, right? And it's as simple as just simply dragging it out, and I'll put it in my inactive widget area so I can reuse it later. I go over here and refresh the page and see what the results are. And you'll notice that now I've removed that column. Now, what if I wanted to fill in the space? Not a problem. Remember, simple math tells us we've got 100% width here. I can go ahead and fill it in by making the third column equal to 50%. Let's do that. So I go to the third column, which is the third widget. Remember, top is first and bottom is last. And I'm going to change the width here to 50%. Couldn't be any easier. I save it, and let's go back and reload the page, see what happens. And when I do, you get the third column at 50%. So you can see here very easily that I can go ahead and make any kind of modification I want with simple controls that are accessible to a normal person. And that way I can go ahead and set up the look and the feel of the layout without worrying about getting into the custom theme. Now, once I'm done with that, I can go ahead and apply either my own styling to the skin or have it designed for me, but it won't change the fact that the guts of the site, the layout and the functions will all remain in place. And that's the beauty of the LabSecrets solution. Well, I've given you a good tip for today. You can expect more on a daily basis here at LabSecrets.com. I'm Spence, the evil genius from Widget Laboratory.